Bonus page, we're going to do grids this time. So we're going to get our grids back in gear. We're going to show our grids and we are going to be snapping to the grid, and we can edit grids. This is the default grid, but if you see something different for some reason, go to File Preferences, and you can change grids by going to Guides and Grids. So we can go in and you can change the color, so it doesn't have to be gray, it could be darker, it could be lighter color. You can do dots instead of lines. There's a lot of ways you can change this. So this is a grid line every 0.4 inches. Of course, you might be using centimeters. Has 5 subdivisions. You can change how many little subdivisions. This is a 5 by 5. You could change it to 10 by 10 to make it more of a detailed grid if you want. So I just wanted to go over grids that you can change your grid type by going to Grid and Guides. Okay, so I'm going to keep it as the default. It looked like it darkened it a little bit. Let me go back and lighten. I don't want it to be so overwhelming that we can't see our design. Okay, so let's start off with something easy. Get the pen tool. I'm going to go ahead and click. These are pretty easy, especially everything we just did. Let's make it green, or let's make it our purple color. Make it a stroke. We've done this a lot. We're experts now. And now we can hold down Option, and we just created kind of a double arrow. Super simple. Let's get our pen tool. And this one's simple. We have snap to grid, so it's going to be a lot easier to work with. So it's going to snap for you up, down, and around. I'm just going to reduce my stroke there. So this one's a little more complicated, but since we have snap to grid on, it's going to be really easy because we could just snap it. Let's go ahead and reduce the weight. Just going around and tracing. So this is just really good with practicing our skills with the mouse or whatever we're using to click around. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to make the stroke a little bit smaller. Just going around. This is really just great for practice. I want you guys to spend more time practicing this. Complete our shape. Maybe make it a little bit bigger. And voila! Let's go down to this. I'm not going to trace this whole thing in the class, but I want you to give it a try. I'm going to do the first couple ones, but this is just to practice your dexterity with the pen tool and nothing else. I want you to go through this whole thing, and since you have snap to grid on, it's going to be fairly easy for you to find the line. So I'm not going to do all of that because that would take 10 minutes alone. This is some more practice you can do. Same thing with these little shapes, just a really thick stroke here. I want to do something fun. Let's do some pixel art. So since we have snap to grid on, when we use a rectangle tool, let's say we just draw a tool, it's going to automatically snap. So we can snap and go very quickly to create these shapes. So let's do a fill. So watch this. So creating a shape, and we're off a little bit on the grid with some of these. So let's do the sword first. It's kind of like Minecraft or like an old Nintendo game. So let me line this up on the grid real quick, maybe just a little bit better so everything kind of snaps. I'll be right back. So I got everything kind of lined up, so let's go ahead and create this basic pixel art. It's going to be easy because everything's snapping. So it's like boom, boom. It's really easy. Things are snapping. You could do much smaller squares if you want. I'm just doing very basic shapes. We've got like an arrow. We have kind of a sword going on here. And everything is snapping so easily. It's very, very quick, very quick process to sketch this. This is not lined up perfectly. That is okay. I might have just accidentally moved it, but we're still getting the gist of everything. I think this lines up really good. Let's go down the list. See how quickly it's snapping? If I did not have snap to grid on, this would just be a mess. It would take me forever. You can always join all these separate boxes together with the shape builder tool. All right, so let's do this bow and arrow. And my favorite, the key. This reminds me so much of playing video games in the early 90s, where this is kind of what you had. You had pixels because that's the best that video games could do back then, was this kind of stuff, but I thought it was kind of fun and nostalgic to be able to do something like that. Just tracing pixel art, just doing snap to grid and view grid, is kind of an extra bonus page. So feel free to explore that if you want, but here we go. There's the tracing worksheet. Congratulations. You did it all. Here's everything we did. Yay. So now that we've learned, we spent about an hour and a half, 2 hours together doing all of this. You've really learned every single tool that is valuable to creating symbols and shapes and logos. And of course, there's a layout design where you're going to be working more with blocks of copy and type, and we're going to be doing some layout projects later, so don't worry. We're going to be doing some layout projects and really focusing on type and alignment and grids and all that stuff. We're also going to be doing a logo design and some branding, so we can practice doing some real projects. But this was great core training. We've really covered a lot of tools here. We covered gradients, complex shapes, simple shapes, pen tool, curvature tool, direct selection tool, shape builder tool, width tool, offset path tool. We practice using all of those tools. We used the grid, snap to grid. So there's definitely some other tools to learn, but we'll get to that by doing practical, real-world design projects coming up next.